So now that I've been wearing Spice Blend from Dior, how does it compare to Viktor & Rolf's Spice Bomb? Spice Blend or Spice Bomb? Which do you prefer? Well, I'm going to tell you which one I prefer, as I find these two fragrances very, very similar. There are differences, but there are a lot of similarities. So if you want to find out what they are, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian with Smelling Great Fragrance Reviews. If this is your first time tuning into this channel and you love watching fragrance review videos, learning about new fragrances, new brands, watching comparison videos like the one you're going to watch today, watching lists where I do top 20 lists or top 10 lists of various styles of fragrances, and of course participating in giveaways. I do a lot of giveaways here on the channel and you still haven't subscribed. In order to participate in the giveaways, you do need to be a subscriber of the channel. So if you haven't yet, please click the subscribe button below and also click that bell icon, because if you end up being a winner of a giveaway, or if I need to get a hold of you or reply back to you, you will get a notification that I've replied back to you. Anyway, thanks so much again for tuning in. This is Spice Blend from Dior. It's the Maison Christian Dior collection of fragrances, which used to be called the Dior Privé collection, but now they've rebranded as the Maison Christian Dior fragrances. And in fact, if you are ever in Paris, there are two stores that are called Maison Christian Dior stores, and you can go directly into the stores and buy all the Maison Christian Dior fragrances, which are, the previous known name of a Privé collection. So every single one of the fragrances from this collection are there. You won't find any of the regular lineup of Dior fragrances, but these two stores only specialize in the Maison Christian Dior fragrances. And also I have a separate video on the channel about 6 or 7 boutique-only, Paris boutique-only fragrances such as Mitza, Vetiver, Eau Noir, Leather Oud, Granville, Milly Laforêt, Courcanage. I think got every one of them. Those you can only buy in those stores. Anyway, Spice Blend is a fragrance that I've been wanting to pick up, but around the time it was making its debut here in the States, I went on the European trip, so I ended up picking up a bottle in Paris. This is a 2019 launch. It was rolled out into every single store that sells Maison Christian Dior fragrances, whereas when they launched Purple Oud, it was an USA online exclusive. Now it's available everywhere. And then when they launched Santal Noir, that particular fragrance was only Middle East exclusive, but it was available in London, Harrods, Selfridges, and of course duty frees in the airports in London. Nowhere else I've seen it sold. I don't know if you guys have found that fragrance anywhere else, but when I was buying this in Paris, I asked and nobody knew where Santal Noir was. So this one actually debuted everywhere, like every store that sells these fragrances, you can pick them up. I picked it up for 280 euros in Paris, and I saved 12% tax. Here it's $320 for this 250 ml bottle plus tax, so it would run me about $350, but with the conversion and the tax back, this ended up costing me about $310, where I saved about $40, which is always good for me to save on fragrances because I do tend to buy a lot of fragrances. Anyway, when I was smelling this in store in Paris, it was the first time I had smelled it. It immediately reminded me of something else. The spiciness in this fragrance reminded me of something else. But what do we have for notes here? In the notes, you've got at the top rum and ginger. In the heart, you've got pink pepper, black pepper, nutmeg, cinnamon, cloves, coriander. In the base, you've got bay leaves and woody notes. So because of those spices, it started reminding me of Spice Bomb. This one right here, it really reminded me of Spice Bomb. Now, since I've gotten back and I did my haul video, you saw where I mentioned that I find this one similar to another fragrance, and it is definitely Spice Bomb. When you're smelling fragrances from far away, when you don't have the other fragrance to compare, they they smell very, very close to each other. In fact, as soon as I smelled it, I thought, this reminds me of Spice Bomb. Now, there are differences in here, and I'm going to tell you about the differences. Here with Viktor and Rolf, Spice Bomb was launched in 2012, 7 years prior to Spice Blend, and this was created by Olivier Polge, whereas this one was created by Francois Demachy. Olivier Polge is now Chanel's perfumer, but I guess he was originally making fragrances for other brands before. Now this is the Eau De Toilette Concentration, and this particular fragrance you can find them at discounters. I bought this one at a outlet mall where there's one near my mom up in Central Valley, and it's a L'Oreal brands outlet, so anybody under L'Oreal will be featured there, and it was a very good discount because they were having an additional discount, so I ended up with this bottle. And so there are discounts to be found with this one. This one unfortunately not, but Neiman Marcus, where they sell this, has gift card promotions, and you can take advantage of those promotions at that time, but there's no sales on them. Anyway, the notes for this one, you've got at the top bergamot, grapefruit, pink pepper, Elemi resin. In the heart, you've got saffron, cinnamon, chili pepper. In the base notes, you've got vetiver, tobacco, and leather. Now, the two do remind me of one another, but when you compare them side by side, this one is a lot syrupier. This one's a lot drier. This is a dry, powdery experience. This one's a syrupy, molassesy experience, but it is all about spices. And whereas this one in the heart notes mentions so many spices, pink pepper, black pepper, nutmeg, cinnamon, cloves, and coriander, this one with the spices, you've got saffron, cinnamon, and chili pepper. But with this one at the top, you've got the Elemi resin, and with this one at the top, you've got that rum and ginger. So there's a big blast of boozy rum at the top with the ginger. The ginger already starts your spiciness at the top, but those notes at the top do not last as long because the cinnamon immediately creeps in. Like, the cinnamon is so big here, it's like the main player. And the same thing with this one. The grapefruit and bergamot, you know, launches things off, but pink pepper is what kind of is more prominent here at the top because the citruses are not too prominent. And then the Elemi resin gives this a kind of a spicy kick to it, just like the ginger in the in this one. But for me, here again, the cinnamon just completely takes over. So this one is they're both mostly about cinnamon. So if you like cinnamon in fragrances, then both of these should satisfy you depending on your mood. Now, the fragrances do kind of go in different directions, but they do kind of dry down to be sort of similar, even though this one has saffron, cinnamon, chili pepper in the heart, and this one has all the other spices I mentioned, like pink pepper, black pepper, nutmeg, cinnamon, cloves, coriander. So they do kind of go spicy in the heart and then kind of dry, kind of woody in the base. You're still picking up like the cinnamon, because the cinnamon in both fragrances is what's the main player. Like, it's the star of the show, of the film or the movie, in this case the fragrance. Cinnamon is the main player, and you gotta love cinnamon to enjoy these fragrances. But both of them also have a very, very prominent pink pepper note. So it's a very, very spicy, not necessarily like black pepper, even though both has black pepper. Actually, no, this one does not have black pepper. This one has a chili pepper, whereas this one has pink pepper and black pepper, but doesn't have any chili pepper. Now, both of them, as I said, do remind me of one another. I think the only differences are the fact that this is a lot syrupier. It's more like molassesy. It has a more flowy kind of experience, you know, like drippy, whereas this one is more powdery and it's like floating rather than like flowing. Hopefully that makes sense to you. But Spice Bomb to me is the one I'm preferring over the Spice Blend. I don't know why, and I'm a big, big fan of Dior. It's just this came way before, and this to me seems like it's nothing original. It's just something that they maybe rushed to put out there to kind of cash in on the fact that most of the collection in this, in the Maison Christian Dior collection of fragrances, seems to be very light and, I don't know, very simple fragrances that are like freshies and florals, whereas I thought perhaps that they would come up with something original. In this case, something like Santal Noir. Even though Santal Noir is not necessarily ultra original, I have multiple videos about that fragrance if you want to search for it on the channel, because I find Santal Noir to be like an extra beautiful version of Chanel's Egoiste. So if you like Egoiste, you might want to check out Santal Noir if you can get your hands on it. This one I feel like it's already been down there. There's already a fragrance out there, fairly new, not necessarily ultra new, but in the case of the Chanel Egoiste, which came out in the late 80s, they came out with the Santal Noir here. And I'm not saying this isn't like a full-on copy. I don't think these are copies, but then again, it could have been inspired, and you know, Francois Demachy and then the corporation of LVMH thought we could come up with something more intense. Our fragrances are, you know, very light and floral. We want something that appeals to a lot more masculine noses and things like that, so they came up with something like this. It's unfortunately, as I said, not very original. I feel like it's been done, and it's not very unique. And what happened to Maison Christian Dior collection? I mean, come out with something very original. This one, even though I think this one will be appealing to a lot more mass crowd, and it is targeted unisex. I believe it's targeted unisex. The collection is fairly unisex, although a lot of the lighter and floral ones tend to lean feminine, but I think the entire collection is very unisex. This one's targeted to men, but I think if you are a woman and you like the way this smells, wear it. I think there's definitely no gender here, because since this is very similar to me as far as smells go, and this is targeted unisex, why wouldn't a woman wear this one, you know? And then the other way around, if you're thinking this is a unisex fragrance and you only wear men's fragrances, and here we have something that you might like and it is targeted to men, why wouldn't you wear this fragrance? Because it is targeted unisex. So they're very, very unisex to me. I find these kind of like spicy fragrances, woody spicy fragrances, at least some that lean kind of gourmand, in this case with all the spices like cinnamon and cloves and things like that. I find them to be very unisex, and they go right down the middle. It just depends on if you are a woman and you put it on and you kind of make it a little more feminine with your chemistry, and if you're a man and you put it on and you kind of make it more masculine with your own chemistry. But disappointing release. Unfortunately, it's sad. This is very disappointing to me. Don't get me wrong, it does smell good. It just, and I didn't say great because it does smell good. I am preferring Spice Bomb, and I didn't tell you one negative about this one. Something about it in the dry down is reminding me of wet dish rag. I don't like that smell, and sometimes I smell it when I go to a bar when they haven't changed their dish rag there to clean counters, and I don't know what they do with those rags, but there's something in the dry down that kind of just rubs me the wrong way. And it doesn't happen all the time. It happens every once in a while. It reminds me in the dry down of ambergris, like this kind of like aquatic kind of slightly fishy kind of woody smell, and it's not coming up all the time. It comes up every once in a while when I wear it, and it's not very pleasant for some odd reason. The other thing I didn't mention about this one, it does hint at a little bit of the DNA of Ambre Nuit and a little bit of the DNA of Santal Noir. Kind of in the same ballpark. It feels like the formula is there, and they've kind of like removed some notes and put in some other notes to make something like this. That's what it feels like to me. This is my experience. You might not experience this, but as I sampled a lot of fragrances, I get to learn about the fragrance, and I'm smelling something that I've smelled before. But it is overall a good release. I'm favoring Spice Bomb. Just the fact that this one does cling on a little more. It's syrupier and drippier and molassesier. This one is more dry and powdery. But if you already have this, would you get this one, Spice Blend? I mean, the price-wise, it's also very different. I didn't do the per mil factoring of the prices, but this is a 250 ml bottle. It's $320 plus tax, about $350. This is, I think it's an 80 ml bottle, and I bought it for about $60. So you do the math and figure out which one might be worth it. The other thing you can do is get a decant of this if you already have this, or if you don't have either and you're thinking of something spicy, get decants of both and test them out and see which one works for your chemistry better. Then you can jump to get a bottle of either one, depending on which one you end up liking. But for me, I think this is a redundant release. It's been done before. It is a little better quality. I don't like the dry down as much as I said. I'll stick stick to Spice Bomb. It's been done before. It's a proven fragrance, and I'll go with that one. One other thing before I wrap up, this is the Eau De Toilette version. I have not compared this to the Eau De Parfum or the Intense version. There are a few other versions which I haven't compared this to, which I do not own. Definitely doesn't smell like Spice Bomb Night Vision. That's definitely for sure. I do own that one, but I am hoping I can get the intense version of this to see if I can compare these two together. Anyway, that's my thoughts on Spice Blend from Dior, and of course Spice Bomb from Viktor and Rolf. Guys, are you familiar with these two fragrances? Have you compared them? Do you have one or the other? And have you experienced or noticed the similarities of the two together? Let me know. Put some comments down so that I find out. Other than that, if you have any questions or comments, please do list below. Otherwise, please like this video, please share it, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.